What's going on, YouTube? This is Luke with Endless Entrepreneurs coming back to you. Excited to be coming back to you guys with our regular scheduled show on Wednesday instead of Sunday, but we didn't want to not bring you guys some value after we scheduled it. I'm with 10K on the Bay, Chris. I'll let him introduce himself real quick and he can talk about our show topic today.
What's up, guys? I am Chris. I go by 10K on the Bay on the internet. I'm trying to build a 10,000 item store on eBay. Today, I'm super excited to share 6 ideas with you guys on how we handle returns. Hopefully, this is a useful topic for you guys and you can get some information. Please ask as many questions as you want. We will get to them after we present our 6 tips. And let's get into it. Luke, do you want to start this week?
Yeah, I'll kick it off. And just kind of, for those of you who are new to my channel, I am a part-time eBay seller, and I primarily sell used clothing. So hopefully I'll be able to give you some value today. And we're going to jump right into our 6 tips, and we'll alternate back and forth. Please save your Q&A for the end. We will get to your questions. It's a big part of our show. The first half will be the tips. The second half will be the Q&A. So, yeah, I'll jump right in with my first one here, getting back on track. And I just have to say I'm pretty excited. It's been about a month. We had to take a little reprieve because I was a little nuts. So ready to get that back to it. So we're talking returns today, and one of the reasons for this topic is simply I do not have a solid return process as far as once I receive my items, how do I handle them? And that's kind of how we got to this topic. So this is going to be just as useful for me as hopefully it is for you guys. But the first one is very simple, is have a designated time block in your week where you handle the inventory on the back end for returns. And I don't mean handling the messages from the buyer, whether you're going to accept the return, all the stuff that comes with that, but carve out a dedicated time each week where you take those items, you relist them, you do whatever is necessary with them, dedicate that. And it's something simple that I haven't done pretty much ever in my business. It's been very haphazard, reactionary. I'm probably leaving a ton of money on the table, every day that I let that go by. I have a closet over here I cleaned out that's just like, it's full of probably 40 or 50 items that I need to relist. So just carve out that time, make it a priority, and make it a part of your normal business rhythm, because you are leaving money on the table when you're not. And so, Chris, I don't know how you can relate to that, or how you handle it, but I'd love to hear kind of how you approach that.
Definitely, returns don't seem like a priority. They always, and you don't know when returns are going to happen. So they're just they're randomly coming in, and I really am trying to create the same process as like a brand new item. Like I put it is a bucket. It's actually in between the new items I'm going to list, and so there's just a small bucket that's in between the new items I'm going to list, because I want to get to those first, and because they just sold, so there is some demand out there. You want to get it listed, and I definitely think we should all have a process, because returns are very normal, and you can get to the point where you're BHFO and you handle 250 returns a day. So yeah, that's a whole team of people just handling one process.
And that's also a lot of money you're leaving on the table by not having a process when you have that many returns coming in. I mean, that's absurd. That was a really good point you made. I didn't even think about that. So if you do have a return, it's often an item that already sold. So there's demand that you've already proven, in which is I've never even thought about it that way. Like it makes so much sense that those should be a priority of getting those relisted.
And returns are such a big pain in the butt that literally you can buy returns from companies that don't even want to deal with it. They'll just literally wholesale it to you for cents on the dollar to not have to put it back on the shelf or check the condition or, determine if it's return fraud. They just write the whole thing off. And so there are people who make big business off of this.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Why don't you jump into your second one, or your first one, actually?
Sounds good. So, guys, I used to do sell similar whenever a return would come in. So I'd come in, the item would be ended because I was doing individual unique listings. I would sell similar and then go back and literally change nothing. And that's not the proper way to do it. You need to go back and actually determine if there are defects. But I want to just start with my first tip, which is I switched to the wholesale option for listing, so that it can now reflect a quantity of 0. So now instead of selling similar, I can just go back to that listing and change the quantity back to 1. And instead of, that way I don't need to go back and make a whole new listing. I just literally use the same exact listing, and the only thing I'm going to update is the item location. So right now, when the return comes in, I put the new item location right on it right away. and then now all I need to do is update it, which takes just a couple seconds, recheck the item to make sure why the return was that issue, and then it goes into my bucket to refile back into my inventory system. So that's much easier now to change the quantity to 1 rather than sell similar.
That's a really good tip. Oh, I'm getting feedback now. Uh-oh.
Oh, also, when I do that, I don't actually lose the watchers from the original listing, which is a good point that Anthony put up. When my listings end, it's not really ended, it's just a quantity of 0. So I can go back and add it, and all the watchers still stay on it. And if they try and buy it, there's just no buy button because there's none in stock.
Interesting.
So that works especially well when you have multi-quantity listings. Let's say you have 100 widgets, and then you sell out of them. You don't want to lose all those watchers when you reorder. So you can leave the bucket open, reorder, change the quantity back, and sell to those same people again.
That's a really good point. And actually, so I hopefully in the pipeline have. Oh, I keep hearing feedback. I think we're good now. I've had a bunch of opportunities right now for some bigger bulk buys or my multi-quantity. So I'm really glad you brought that up. I'm gonna have to keep that in mind as I start to handle those. But and just in general for updating the item location seems like such a good process to add in there. I think that's something immediately I'm going to start doing. So you basically, as you get the return, you just add whatever the new item location would be that you're going to put it to, and then handle the return later. So it's already like kind of preset, right? Is that what you're saying?
I just immediately do it. So on the right of me is the items that need to be refiled. On the left of me are the items that need to be listed. And in between the items that are listed is the bucket for returns. So it's kind of like natural to handle those first now since it's within reach. And then once that bucket's empty, all I'm doing is reassigning it a new location, double checking to see why it was returned. Generally, at this point, I have a pretty good process for minimizing defects on the front end, so I can catch the defect in the front end normally, but it's usually because it didn't fit properly.
Yeah, majority of my returns are always just a fit issue. It's either a fit issue or it's someone was trying to pull one over and I just said, fine, return it. So I have a really stubborn streak that I've adopted, which is I don't recommend to anyone, but it's kind of funny. So now when people try to game the system, I just pay the return shipping and make them ship it back to me because I have great gratification that they had to actually take to the post office because it was something they were trying to avoid. So I get those returns as well. So yeah, but I agree. Like handling it as soon as it comes in is what has to happen. I have to change that. That's a really bad habit I have. So I need to get better about that.
And I've also had a return sell the same day I reposted it, which is that's what it is. Unless you have a hot item.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I've had that happen with a blazer where it's returned or it's relisted, sold again like almost the same day. All right, let me jump into my second one. So, and this kind of plays off what you just said, but I think quality checking your returns when they come back to make sure that nothing changed fundamentally with the item is pretty big. And only because I feel like a lot can happen with the way someone handles an item that they're going to return versus the item they're going to keep. And they might not take as good a care either shipping it back to you or just maybe they did something to it, mishandling it before they repackaged it. And, I found quite a few returns that have been damaged either in transit or, maybe they did it and then sent it back. I don't know. But it's like you really want to be careful not to just assume the item is good to go to put back on the shelf to resell. And I think, you alluded to it with companies who just don't even want to deal with that process. So they just sell them for cheap to other people to handle it. But it's the same thing for your own businesses. You want to make sure that you're not relisting something that now is flawed. And now you're going to deal with a second return just because you didn't take the extra, 30 seconds to check the item over, make sure there's no stains, holes, or anything that happened with it. Especially in clothing, used clothing, is making sure that it's presentable and the way you sold it the first time, and not even from I'm going to pursue the person who returned it and seek anything from it. It's just more of just if it's bad, I'm just going to throw it in the garbage. It's not worth my time once I realize that. So, have you ever had that happen as an item ever returned to you in not the same condition, or any experience like that?
I've received back a different item. I received back a used item. I had a pair of shoes that looked like it was worn for 30 straight days because it was totally. It was new when I had shipped it, and it came back very used. So, it definitely is a thing. The really used shoes I had sent in a plastic. So I put it into a plastic sealed clear poly mailer. inside of a poly mailer, and it came back sealed in the same plastic poly mailer but completely used. So you have to double check because you never know.
Yeah.
It was presented the same way it went out. But yeah, people are okay, and I know. And at this point, I'm not even questioning returns. I'm not going to do automatic returns, but I am going to look at the reason 9 times out of 10, accept it, get it on its way back. And I have a good percentage of people who don't even return it.
Yeah, that's what I've really found to be the case. I know this is kind of like beating a topic that we've talked over and over about, but it's just like most people don't even follow through with the return. Like they don't want the hassle of actually taking it to the post office. In theory, like, yeah, I should return it, and then they don't even follow through. And then the other times that you don't want to accept it, it's like, I don't know, just the amount of time fighting it just isn't worth it. But and we've talked about that a lot before.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't you jump into your second one, Chris?
All right, cool. So my second one, I just adjusted a little bit. I'm actually handling returns and questions at the same time now, because I feel like answering questions like what is the inseam, what is the leg opening, answering questions on items that need clarification is the same thing as looking for quality control and returns. So as today I sold some J brand jeans, and the lady said, I wanted them, they were a good deal, but I need to make sure the leg opening is 10 inches or they don't fit me right. So I said, okay. And at the same time, I looked through my returns. So, because it's a different mindset than listing or shipping, I'm trying to like do it all at the same time. Yeah. And instead of ignoring questions, which I've been known to do sometimes in the past just because I get busy and it's not a priority, I figure, okay, I'm gonna take a break. Yeah, this is, I consider customer service.
Yep.
Plug it all into one bucket. And then also, I'm only doing it one time a day. So if I don't get it to this time, I'll just work on it tomorrow. I'm not going to, break up the flow of my day to handle returns multiple times in a day.
Gotcha. So you're better than me at that. Just going to put it out there right now. I pretty much have adopted. I have poor customer service, so I will not answer any question that's not in the description. But I respond to every question. So usually what it is, and I think we've talked about this before, is I get a question on the inseam or any of those things, and I'll just say, hey, like it's prepackaged, ready to go. We offer 60-day returns, no questions asked. Unfortunately, we don't have that readily available. And I've actually had quite a few sales. Literally, I'll send that message. I have the sale, and I haven't had a return or anything. So that's just been for me. But that's more because like I'm at work during the day. It's not convenient for me to go to my storage unit and look it up. I think if I had my inventory on site, I would probably respond to more of those, especially from like suits and blazers, because those are bigger sales, and some of those measurements really matter, the extra ones. But no, I think that's a great tip.
I think you could say no. That's a good point. Instead of ignoring your customer and unanswered questions hurt your metrics, you can say, sorry, I don't offer measurements because the items are stored in a different location. I have a great return policy. Check it out. If it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out, but we don't have the capacity to do that. We're a small operation. Say something that actually makes sense. You don't have to lie. Right. Or you can just politely say no. Yeah. So like somebody's asked me, can you take a picture of this item outside in the sunlight? And I just responded, no. So I should have been maybe more of an answer, but I'm not going to leave an unanswered question. I don't have any unanswered questions.
Yeah, I've had the questions so frequently enough. I wouldn't say so frequently. I would say probably once a week I get the question, maybe twice a week for an item. I actually have a copy and paste in my notepad to just unfortunately, our items are pre-stored, ready to ship in a warehouse location not close to us. We have a 60-day no questions return policy. You can buy with confidence. We appreciate your interest in our item. Boom, good to go. So I just kind of canned response to that, and I don't think it's hurting me, but again, it's one of those things that's kind of hard to measure if it's hurting you or not.
I love having canned responses. It's a great idea.
Time is so valuable, and especially this last month, just the amount I've been working for my day job made me realize like all these little processes. That's why I was pumped for this topic. It's like all these little processes matter so much. Like having the habit and the routine and the time blocked and knowing how you're going to handle it before it happens just saves you so much time that you could be listing, sourcing, doing whatever in your business. So yeah, I agree. All right. I think this one is me now, right? This is my third one. All right. So One of the things that I've been doing, especially now that I'm going through my returns, is double checking the old listings just to make sure that everything is accurate in it versus the item I received. And where I'm seeing the most discrepancies is stuff I listed like 6 or 8 months ago. Like it took a really long time to sell. Then it sold and it had a return on it. A lot of that was just like I wasn't an expert in that genre at the time I listed it. Like I didn't know enough about the keywords or maybe some of the types of measurements or the types of materials or the style around it. And so I'm finding a lot of like keyword upgrades, I guess you would describe it as, because when I originally listed that genre, I just didn't know enough about it, especially with shoes. I'm finding shoes I listed like 8 to 12 months ago where my keywords are really weak and I'm getting returns. I'm just selling them. I'm getting a return out. I'm like, oh, I really could upgrade that listing. And it doesn't take very long. And I've had 2 that I've relisted since then, and they've sold within like a week of relisting them with new keywords and descriptions that are a lot better. So I just think that should always be a part of your return process. And I'm curious to see how you do that because you have such a defined time that you're handling it. And I know that you describe what you're doing, but do you at least like mentally check those and say, hey, is there a spot I can upgrade this? Is there a keyword that's better this time around? Like, how do you approach that?
So I definitely do that. So what happens is the item will come in, I'll open up the order, open up the item, and I redo it. But I actually look at that all the time now as far as like changing the keywords. I use the website Convert Case because I don't like all caps. Yeah. So I'll go in there. I'm starting to convert all my titles to Convert Case, making sure they're capitalized case, which is the first letter of every word is capitalized. Yep. And I used to do 30 days listings versus good till canceled. And now I go back regularly because a tip from eBay was every day go in and adjust your listings. Now I need to be better about it. I think it would be better to once a day or once a week, go through and bulk edit most of them. Change the order. Like, for example, some people say in a men's shirt, you have to use shirt in the first 4 words because the first 4 words have more weight. Some people say, no, that's nonsense. It's always my last word. So I think if you're in there adjusting, I think that Cassini thinks that you're doing something, or it might regard it as something new or novel or different. And if you lower your price a penny or 2 pennies or stuff like that, it'll adjust it. Sometimes what I'll go in on a return, after I'm done adjusting it to title, I'll actually make it more expensive.
Oh.
Because sometimes it's sold already for 19. Why don't we try 23 this time?
Right.
You never know, especially if it's sold quick.
Yeah, especially because you've established a demand for it already. So
and if they look for solds, it'll pop up.
Right. Oh, that's very true. That's really smart. I have noticed, so I've increased the pricing and increase and decrease. I've reviewed the pricing for my entire business and every single item. I've also done keywords, and I've noticed a huge increase in the visibility of my items since doing that. And so I definitely think you're right in that adjusting your titles and your keywords consistently really does boost your items in the search engine. I don't think there's any doubt about that. So that's a great tip. All right, your last one here.
All right. My last one. Okay, so right now my last one is I accept returns immediately after they are filed, and I'm also spending a lot more time on condition description. So, like as an example, I moved measurements to condition description because I feel like people don't click in to the item description on mobile. They just sort of scroll down and look at it, and if I put, like as an example, if I were to put excellent condition in the condition description, which I don't, but if I were to put excellent condition, people would not read the description. They would just buy it. If they're looking for the shirt, the price is okay, and it says excellent condition, me as a buyer, I might, if I'm busy, I'm going to be like, okay, done, I'm going to buy it, right? If you put, please read description, then they're going to take the time to go down there and look. I see a lot of people using please see description, but I don't. I put the measurements, I put gently used condition, these are the measurements. Please compare with items that you have to reduce returns. Also, please try it on before washing. And I also put in there, we have a 20% restocking fee that I will waive if you return it right away. So bid with confidence. Like my thing is really long, but you can actually read it instead of clicking into the description. I think that's reduced my returns a lot because there's the.
So it's right there in the condition note? Like
yeah, I just put in the condition note.
That's such a good idea.
Click into the item description, which is such a pain.
Yeah, I mean, you're playing into consumer behavior, which is what you should be doing, right? Is you're flipping through with your thumb. The last thing you want to do is drill into something to see that. Like
yeah, and I think that it's not intuitive. eBay hasn't made it obvious to click into the item description. I'm surprised they minimized that part of it. You know, like I understand they want to save data and space, but it just seems like the description is so key. What if the description says giant hole? People are going to miss that. But I guess giant hole should be in the condition description.
Yeah, and I'm just trying to think about what I've done on mine, because I pretty much do like I'll do like asterisks in the condition description, see picture for holes, blah blah blah. But you're right. I mean, like having all those other things there, if they're already going to look there, having all those tips there and those things to help reduce your returns is huge. I mean, I haven't even thought about the don't wash before you try it on, or don't wash before you try it on one. I didn't even think about that.
I want people to try it on as soon as they get the package. Like get the package, open it, try it, shirt on.
And you've been doing the restocking fee for quite a while now, and that's been working well for you, right?
The restocking fee is like a giant source of profit for me because I charge 20%, and it's upfront, so people aren't confused by it. It's in my condition description. So people will say, "Oh yeah, doesn't fit." On a $30 pair of jeans, they'll send it back. I charge $9 for shipping, which is more than the shipping. So I make a little bit of money on the shipping. I make 20% on the item. It comes back, and that makes up for the people when I accidentally misdescribe it.
So the restocking fee, and because I've never really had one. So is that an actual setting in your listing that eBay automatically calculates on the return process, or is that something you have to do on the back end after?
It's in the return. It's my return business policy.
It's in the business policy page, right? Okay.
Yeah, and then all my policies are actually I have no returns on some items. But for the majority, and I think that's probably silly. I don't think you should have a no return policy on any items.
Right.
If you stand behind your items, you're probably going to get less returns.
Right. That makes sense. Well, the restocking fee thing is interesting. I haven't really fully wrapped my head around it, but it seems to be working well for you.
I absolutely think that it reduces sales. Because some people are like, I don't want to pay a restocking fee. What if I don't like it? For sure. It's got to be one person that's like, I'm not going to buy it if there's a restocking fee. But I put that I'll waive it.
Right.
Just don't keep it for longer than a week.
Right. Huh.
And so I have to manually enforce that.
Right.
Because if somebody returns it after a week, and if somebody's like, hey, I'm sorry, I was not paying attention, can you waive the restocking fee? I'll probably say, sure, it doesn't matter to me. Just in a reasonable time frame. I don't want to wait until day 29 for the return.
Right.
Like if you're going to rent it, get it the weekend before you need it, wear it over the weekend, and return it on Monday. Don't keep it for a whole month. You know what I mean?
That's a fair point. That's a fair point.
I'm not gonna. Yeah.
All right. Well, so those are good tips.
Oh wait, did you have one more, or is that it?
No, that's it. It's all you mentioned.
So Just Inventory does no returns on as-is electronics. I think that's a great thing. Now I just sold a $290 large format printer that I did local pickup. I hate local pickup, but I did it today. And I told her, normally this is as is, but I'll actually take a return because you're local. Like, if it doesn't work properly, just bring it back. It's normally I would not do that, but I told her you have 3 days. Take it home. Hopefully, don't print like 1,000 things and break it and then return it back to me. But I want to make sure you get a chance to test it.
Right. Interesting. Yeah, I've never done local pickup before, so I'm not a real.
Casey's in the chat, and Casey asks, "Are you going to do free returns?"
So I haven't really. Again, this is like another topic. I've just been working so much. I haven't really had time to process what that means to my business and if it fits with my goals and objectives. On the surface, I think that I would offer free returns just because I don't charge shipping anyways. And like, I don't know, like there aren't a lot of cases where I'm not already going to have to refund them. So I'm not really sure where I'm not really sure where I miss out on that by offering it. Like other than making them pay return shipping a couple times. Like, and a lot of times my returns are people try to do them not as described anyways. So I end up having to pay the return shipping to begin with. So I don't know. I don't know definitively what I'm going to do. How about you?
I just don't. Returns are such a small. Like the point of having this chat with you for me was to just force myself to enforce my own return policy with dealing with it.
Right.
It's not a very high number of items.
Right.
So, like it's important to have a return policy or a return system for getting your returns relisted.
Right.
But if you want to do, free returns, not free returns, it's all personal preference. It's all, like some people like Craigslist Hunter, he charges $1 handling, and he does $1 handling to cover returns.
Right.
Because over the course of a year, it gives you a few $100s or a few $1,000s to hand, to just deal with returns, which is a part of doing business. Like you're going to get returns no matter what. So free returns, I don't believe that there's any. You could do it. Casey's saying you get higher search ranking, so you can. I mean, I'm not going to offer free returns. I want it to be as expensive as possible to return something.
Right. Yeah, it's interesting to me because really it comes down to is will the search engine boost, and this is the philosophy, right? Is will the search engine boost gain more sales than you would pay in the free shipping? That's really what you're debating is will the higher sales offset the dollars I'm paying of return shipping? And if you definitively can say, yes, that's going to happen, then obviously it's worth it. But I think the problem is there's no way to measure that boost and to know, especially right now, that's another thing I'm finding. I don't know how this is for you, Chris. I'm having a really hard time testing things because as we ramp up into fourth quarter, I have no idea if it's the things I'm doing are changing it or if it's just because we're headed into the best season to sell on eBay. Like,
I think everyone should just stay the course, like, because
right.
Whatever you think is going to work, keep doing it. Don't make too many adjustments. Instead of making adjustments, add more volume into your store now. Just get everything listed. I'm seeing so many people right now with increased sales, double the sales, triple the sales, just because it's getting into that time. Yeah. And people are selling all of their holiday stuff from now to the end of October. People who are preparing, trying to get a deal, getting all that stuff flushed out. All my cold weather stuff is starting to sell. I'm still selling golf shoes, summer stuff. So across every single category, I'm doing better right now. And I haven't changed my behavior that much, other than listed more.
Agreed. Yeah, I mean, for me, it's always been list more. And if anything, I'm hugely adamant on this, increase your prices. Don't worry about trying to sell them cheaper. To me, it's like, if I can sell an item for $3 higher and it takes 10 days longer to sell, that's worth it because I'm making more money for the time invested. So that's has always been my model. So yeah, I agree with that.
That's true. And if you guys have a fixed capacity like Luke, you have a fixed amount of hours, then it is about getting as much per item as possible. If you don't have a limit on time, like if I were to tell Luke, like, okay, all of a sudden you have 100 extra hours a week to work on eBay, you don't have to work anymore, then turn starts to become an issue because that's a constraint. But you got to look at what your biggest constraint is. For most people, it's sell-through rate. If you're, like I look at stores every single day where people have 5% sell-through rate, it's really, really hard to grow.
Yeah, I agree. It's too hard to keep up with. Like, it's just a numbers game, right? When it comes down to it. Like,
I want to make a huge point here with Luke. Luke's store that I think is like the number one reason he's been able to scale is he sells in a category where there are home runs, meaning like suits and blazers. You can make like $100 sometimes on a single sale profit. And if you sell in a category where there are no home runs, you're in big trouble because not all of your items sell even. There are some items in your store that will never sell. So you need home runs. Like, don't sell in a category where the maximum profit's $20. You're going to struggle, in my opinion.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I think the other thing with the point you just made is that if you sell in a category with no home runs, the amount of competition you have really, really squeezes you, right? So like when you're only selling bread and butter, in a really crowded market and you don't have home run sales that allow you to keep your prices at a spot that's worth it for the time invested, you end up undercutting your pricing all the time to get the volume to the doors that you need to keep the sales coming in. And so it's like that continual cannibalization, and it's really, really hard to avoid. So I agree with you completely. But you do a good job of it too, though. It's not just me. I mean, I see the home runs that you're selling too. It's like you gotta have the balance, you know.
A lot of home runs. But as far as I just want to say one more thing on the opposite end. There's a lady in my mastermind group that lives in an area where there are no good brands. Like the best brand she has is Faded Glory. Like Walmart is her top brand. Everything else like handmade, by villagers. So it's very, very, very hard for her to find good inventory, and she still makes $5,000 a month because she consistently lists 40 items 7 days a week. And and this is the thing. She has almost 3,000 items in her store, and I wouldn't take her inventory for free. If not one item in her store I would take for free. That's how low quality it is. And she still makes $5,000 because she understands her brands. She stays the course. She knows which Walmart brands sell the best, which sizes, which color. She's understands her market really, really well. And she still makes it work. So all these people who are complaining, I literally wouldn't take her inventory for free. I would drive it. If she dropped it off, I would drive it straight to Goodwill for $0. It wouldn't be,
But she's found a way to monetize. That's crazy.
I'm blessed to live in an area that's super wealthy because I have the option to buy something that's there's $20, $30 profit. She doesn't, but she doesn't. Not 1 second of her day is spent complaining. She just gets it up, and
does it.
She just makes her $5,000. And in her area, $5,000 is a lot.
Right. So cost of living wise, that's
cost of living is insane. So if you can get there, I just think it's really cool when you look at a store where literally you would pass on 100% of the stuff. I was so impressed by her just getting it done.
Yeah, that's awesome. I see a question here about Markdown Manager, so let's just address that because I've seen that flying around here. Sure. So my understanding, and we have Casey in the chat, and you guys know a lot more than I do because I've been out of the loop a little bit. But my understanding is that Markdown Manager is not going away; it's just changing on October 1st. So the old GUI, the old format, the old search engine part of it, everything that was old before is going away October 1. Is that a correct statement?
I believe so. I think it's being moved into Sales Event in the Promotions Manager. It's still available. The strike-through part of it is confusing, because yesterday I went to eBay, and this is like a pretty heated discussion. People were saying, okay, we don't like the new way it's set up because some of the discounts don't reflect until the item is already in your cart, and that's kind of like free money because it's not going into the cart without the intent to buy. Nobody adds items, right? And so unfortunately, sometimes the Markdown strike-through doesn't happen, and it was a staggered release, which makes sense because eBay is so big. So some people already have it, and some people don't have it. But I'm going to wait maybe 2 weeks before we start making assumptions because we don't know. There's different releases. The site is totally different. So
I have the old, and I have the old one running right now through September 30th. So, but it's interesting because I already was starting to price my stuff closer to what I wanted for fourth quarter because I did that big pricing review of my store. And so I kind of just decided in my head, I'm like, all right, I'm going to sample with not running sales at all for a while just to see what it's like. I really don't think there's going to be that big of a drop. I'm not sure that it drives enough consumer behavior. I'm not convinced yet on that.
I am switching 100% no sales to the end of the year.
Yeah.
I just can't. I don't want to mess. Right now, it's like buying the iPhone 8 or 10. I want to wait a few months before I buy. I want a few updates so they can debug it. I'm not going to mess with sales right now because they were saying that sometimes, okay, let's say as an example, Casey runs sales often. Sometimes it can take the site multiple hours to update, right? So,
it does. It's not even the old one does that. It's annoying.
Exactly. So if that's the case, it's fourth quarter, and I post a hot item that's artificially marked up, let's say 50%, and I run a 50% discount or whatever, I literally have to wait potentially 10 hours. And if you go back and look at your item for 10 hours, there might be 20 views or 40 views of people who maybe would have bought it if it was as a normal price, right? So I feel like I'm not going to mess with it till after. I'm changing all of my things to just a competitive price with best offer. and just not messing with it for right now. Maybe I'll go back to using a strike through later.
Yeah.
But also,
I agree.
I just have one last comment on that.
Yeah.
I would spend maybe 5 or 10 minutes a day working, maybe more than that, maybe 15 minutes a day messing with sales. Now I'm just going to list 3 items. Instead of doing that, I'm just going to list 3 more items, not worry about it. Like any boost in sales, maybe not even covering the 3 items I just listed. So just not worrying about it.
Yeah, and I'll actually take a different approach. Getting some feedback. Whoops. Is that on your end, Chris, do you think?
Oh, it could be.
One of the approaches that I'm going to take is, instead of, because what I think is happening is eBay is shifting towards the promoted listings platform, which is one of their biggest kind of platforms. And I think that that's where they're shifting their model towards. And they're going to encourage the adoption of that and the monetization of it for both sellers and themselves. And it makes sense to me that that is a much more lucrative way to go than the kind of the markdown manager approach. So for me, it's like I'm trying to price my stuff where I want it, and then I'm trying to optimize visibility to my listings. And the only thing I'm a little confused on, and only time can tell, is does the promoted listings really affect new items in a competitive marketplace, or does it have the opportunity to affect unique items in a used marketplace? And I think that's yet to be determined. I don't think we've ever, figured that out. And I think only the next couple months are going to be able to start to tell that. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But I do want to take a question. So just Inventory just asked, so is it better to do 30, I think you said 30 to 60 days returns, or is it better to do free shipping? You kind of just asking like either or on the different types of things. Right here it is. It says, so is it better to just accept returns or 30 to 60 days or do free returns for that same time period? And I see like it's basically there isn't a right answer to that, right? Like there's a right answer for your business model and what you're trying to accomplish. If you think within your model, your framework of inventory, the type of inventory you have, that offering a particular model of returns will lead to greater sales and retention for you, then you should test it and run it. And I think that it can vary. Like if I was selling only used electronics, my return policy would probably be way different than selling used clothing. And so I just don't think that you can say this is the best way to run your eBay business, because it really depends on your inventory, the sale price, the type of stuff. Like, I don't know, Chris, how do you feel about that?
I mean, Best Buy has a 14-day return policy because entire companies were buying stuff for 30 days and returning it on day 29. So like at 15 days, people don't do it because it's not worth the hassle of buying 20 computers for your company, using it for 13 days, returning it. Like they have to adjust based on the market. And they have upwards of 30% returns sometimes on certain items. Can you imagine getting back items that are not in the same condition you sold it? Those retail giants have all that overhead and 30% returns. How do they even do it? So they have to sell millions and millions and millions. It's so challenging. And so now I see it, it just depends. And if you sell vintage, antique, one-of-a-kind treasures, like the people that get it, they may give you a hug and a kiss every time. Like who knows? Like if it's that rare, and I've accepted a return after 180 days before. Like 2 months after it expired, because the person was reasonable. They wanted to pay a 30% restocking fee and shipping to me. So I said, okay, that's just like me rebuying the product again. So let's do it. So it depends on it definitely depends on what category you're selling in.
Yeah, for sure.
Also, there's a sweet spot. Items between like $50 and $150 tend to have, I think, less returns than from like 150 to 250. Actually, there's different metrics depending on category too. So I guess there's not one set rule, but even in categories, like I would say, if I spent $600 on a suit with Luke and it came and it wasn't perfect, I'd probably return it. But if I spent $150 on a suit and it needed an alteration, I wouldn't return it.
Right.
I would just say that.
And that's a really good point, because I almost never get returns on suits. Like everyone's intimidated to sell them, right? Because like, oh, you got returns, they don't fit, blah, blah, blah. But it's actually the opposite because you can alter them. So most people buy, they look at the measurements and go, based on those measurements, I know I can bring it in or take it out. But sometimes they'll ask if there's enough fabric to take it in or out. But it's like they almost expect that A, I'm going to dry clean it, B, I'm going to get it altered and make sure that it's tailored to me. Because someone who's going to spend $150 on a used suit is going to take the time to get it altered and make it fit to them. Like, no doubt about it. So it's interesting for sure. You see any other questions that you want to grab?
I just have a comment, which is the sales have been down and they've been using promoted listings. That's interesting for me. When I started using promoted listings, I immediately had a boost. Mm-hmm. And then after a while, it went away. And so now I just turned off promoted listings. I feel like I don't need promoted listings or sales or store categories right now. All I need is a lot of stuff for sale. I'll reevaluate at the end of the year. Right now, I'm just like, okay, no frills, one category, other. No sales, reasonable best offer. No, I used to have auto decline, no more auto decline because I heard that hurts your ranking. So best offer, and then just use all that time I was spending half an hour a day just in tweaking stuff. Just list a few more items.
Yeah.
You know, I'll just try it. At the end of the year, I'll redo it.
Yeah, I feel like for all of us, it's like this next 3 to 4 months is going to be sweet, and there's going to be very little complaining, and you're going to think everything you're doing is working, and you're going to feel like a genius in your business because sales are going to start to ramp. And then we're going to hit to January, February, and it's going to be okay. And then we're going to hit the end of March, and everyone's going to start to freak out again because their sales are going to drop off a cliff. And then we're going to spend the entire spring and summer doing videos about how to optimize your store best to increase your sales back up.
That's such a great point. Right now, it doesn't matter.
No, it doesn't. I have stuff selling that's been up for 12 months that no one's looked at in forever, and it's selling for full price all of a sudden. So it's not because I'm so magical about anything. It just is. That's the nature of the time we're in right now.
Yeah. Good product, good price, accurate photos. Today I had a lady, like I took 12 photos of this purse, and she said, it's dirtier than expected. And I took 12 perfect photos in natural lighting of this. It should be exactly as described as far as condition. Like, these pictures are amazing. And she said it's dirtier than expected, but eBay sided with me because the photos are really accurate. They're like, I don't know how you could have described it more accurately than having 12 great photos of the item. Like, that's, you know, unless you sent her a different one.
Right.
So.
Interesting. That's good. I'm glad they sided with you on that. Let's see. I guess there's three live shows going on right now. Well, if you are in the chat and can throw us some love on the like button, we'd appreciate it. We really do appreciate everyone stopping in, and hopefully this has been a helpful topic. I do see someone said, so Luke, are you saying you don't get very many returns on suits and jackets? That's exactly what I'm saying. I would say that's my lowest percent category of returns.
I don't even have
dress shirts is probably my highest, honestly.
I haven't had one return on a suit yet. Yeah. And I don't even use a mannequin for suits. I flat lay suits and haven't had one return. So I think the measurements are the key.
Yes. And I provide 10 measurements for my suits. So, I mean, and someone who's had a suit tailored and knows kind of what you're looking for, it's like, I know the measurements that matter. And so I think that does help. And I also think with lower price items, I think you kind of hit that perfectly earlier, right? There's that sweet spot of, if I'm willing to pay that much, I'm going to really carefully pick my item, versus when I'm buying the $20 dress shirt, I see size large, I assume it fits, I don't worry about anything else. So, like, I think there's definitely a bit of that on genre to genre and price point to price point.
What's up? Lindsay is in the chat. One more question, or one more comment on Q4. Q4 is more known for brand new items, guys. So I would definitely spend a little extra time buying giftable stuff. Get the good stuff. No one's going to gift Banana Republic. You're not, unless you don't like the person. That's not a very good Christmas gift. You know what I mean? It's some good brand.
Chris, I shop at Banana Republic all the freaking time at the outlets. You hating on my wardrobe or what?
No, I would never. I would never consider giving you a Banana Republic gift unless you made me mad. That's not a good enough brand. Like,
I do not have a slim enough figure to pull out a higher quality gift.
So That being said, Kyle's in the chat and he mentioned first quarter is super hot. It is super hot for used items from what everyone has told me. It trends all the way till March.
So Chris, remember when you started reselling and your sales were booming? What month was that?
October.
Yeah, and then what month did it really take off?
December. Oh no, actually,
January.
It was busy until January, all the way through January.
I remember Google Hangouts with you, and you were just killing it in January.
That's true.
Yeah, you were crushing it.
No, that was killer. I loved it.
Yeah.
So, and yeah, I expect it to be. Right now, I'm thinking I've seen so many sellers that don't do anything except for have a lot of items.
Yeah.
And good quality.
It's a good approach.
I just want to shout out this guy, Ronaldo92. This guy has no lighting system. Every single shirt's wrinkled. He takes it all on his bed sheet, and he's making 6 figures. It just makes me so happy that somebody's out there, not with nothing except for his bed and a white sheet that he didn't even make his bed. He just listing, and people are buying.
Yeah.
So just get your stuff up there. No one can buy it if it's not listed.
I agree. I totally agree. Mark's had a question in the chat. Said,
I love that question for you on the master sweater.
It says, still outsourcing, picked up a green long sleeve master sweater with tag. There are 2 selling for $150. What would you price it at? I would price it, if you're offering best offer, I'd price it at $175, and I'd make sure my pictures were better. Maybe even higher. I might go higher than that. It depends. If I was willing to wait till master season, like I think I would either try to unload it in 4th quarter in December, or I would be okay holding it till around the Masters tournament.
I think that's a great gift. I would do worst case scenario, price it right at $150. No reason to be cheaper.
Yeah, I mean, especially this early in the season, I would be comfortable pricing it closer to like $175, $180, and just seeing what happens.
Yeah.
All right, so we'll take 1 or 2 more questions, then we got to wrap up because my sleep schedule is all sorts of messed up, and I need to try to get some sleep and wake up early.
Also, I just want to do a quick point. I'm doing 100% laundered. Like, I'm no longer cleaning any shoes. I have a cobbler that does that. I dropped off 80 pairs of shoes, and then I just dropped off 139 shirts, jackets, and blazers. So I'm no longer doing. I switched to washing 100% of my clothing. And now I switched to not washing it myself. So it's now worth it at the bulk discount I get at $1 a piece and $5 a shoe to do basic repairs. That's going to speed up my process a lot because it's so easy to present a pressed piece of clothing.
Interesting.
I'm not going to have to do the little tweaking, and I'm also going to ask a couple dollars more, and I can say professionally cleaned instead of washed. I think professionally cleaned sounds better. And all of my items are going to be ready to wear.
That's true.
So I'm excited to see. They'll all have the dry cleaning tag on it. We'll see what happens. It might be a waste of money, but
we'll find out. Casey, if you have enough margin in your items, $1 is not a big deal.
I know. And also, like spending time to find items that sell for 25 to 30. Has been worth it. Like at first I thought I'm not going to be able to find enough items, but that's not the case.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm just messing with Casey. He knows in the chat. But I'm similar to, like, my average sale price is like $25. So if I ever had to build that process in, I think I could handle it. I am, just full disclosure, I'm trying to shift towards, I'm going the opposite direction as you, is I'm trying not to buy used stuff as much. So I'm pretty excited. I'll have some future videos about it, but I've got some pretty decent things in the works for maybe some long-term bulk buying of shelf pulls. So
I love it. So like new with defects is so exciting for me. Like going to Marshall's, and shout out to what's this guy? Actually, I don't know his name, but on Instagram he shows the guides for what kinds of items go to Marshall's, like what kind of defects causes items to go to Marshall's. There's a really good guide out there, and it's free. So look for resources on social media that teach you. So once you know, okay, this is why there's shelf pulls, you know, and you can get an idea. Now you know, and when you go to the store and you find an item that's damaged, you can say, hey, is this going to be something that, you know, like if you're at a higher end store and it's damaged, you can now get an idea of what that would be later. But yeah, developing the relationships for the new stuff is massive.
Absolutely. All right, guys. I think we are going to call it good. It is 3 of 9. I appreciate everyone who stopped in. I know this wasn't our normally scheduled day. We will be back to our normal rhythms. And Chris, I'm excited to get back at it, Chris. I know Chris has been crushing it, and I'm excited to get back in the game here. And hopefully, you guys learned something. I know I learned a lot tonight. So, Chris, any closing remarks?
No, just list, guys. List as much as possible. Get it all up. Don't have a death pile. Keep rolling. Keep buying. Keep sourcing. Keep adjusting.
We're 4 days from fourth quarter, so let's get ready. Like, buckle up. Here we go. All right, have an awesome night, guys. Really appreciate everyone stopping in. Hit that like button on the way out, and check out Chris's channel on 10K on the Bay. See you guys.